Merhabalar. Bugünkü oyunumuz The Stanley Parable. Şimdiki bu oyun zaten şu an birçok kişi biliyordur. Bilmeyen yok derece azdır. Eğer bilmiyorsanız bu videoyu izleyin ve öğrenin. Bu çok güzel bir oyun. Bir kere dördüncü duvarı yıkıyor. Yani direkt bizimle konuşuyor. Ve bizden bir şeyler yapmamızı istiyor. İsterseniz yapıyorsunuz, isterseniz yapmıyorsunuz. Bu size bağlı. Buna göre olaylar değişiyor. Son derece güzel bir oyun. Başlayalım ve izleyelim.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-ending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
İşte olay bu. Mesela dışarı çıktı. Örneğin çıkmayalım. Çıkmayalım, oturalım. Yok, öyle bir şey olmadı. Biraz daha bekleyelim. Bakalım bir şey diyecek mi? Bu bir şey diyecek mi? Düşüncesi insanı oyuna çok bağlıyor. Çıkmadım. Kesin bir şey söyleyecek. Saat şu an kaç oluyor? 11.30 falan. 11.25. Bir şey demedi. Eğilme var. Böyle eğilip bir yerlere gelebileceğiz. Zıplama yok. Koşabiliyor muyuz? Şöyle. Koşamıyoruz da. Allah Allah. Neyse çıktım hadi tamam. Bu da farklı bir yöntem.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Şimdi eskiden hatırladığım bir bug vardı burada. O bug'ı denemek istiyorum. Zıplayamıyorum ama şunlardan birinde bir şey yapıyorlardı ya. Neyse. Hadi biz de yolumuza devam edelim. Bunlara takılmayalım. Yapabilseydim onu gösterecektim size. Yapamadım. Yapacak bir şey yok. Hakikaten hiç kimse yok. Username access. Bayağı büyük bir şirket gibi duruyor. Örnek. Tamam. Size en güzel örneği burada göstereyim. Soldaki kapıdan girdi.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first.
Sırf hayran kalmak için kapıyı kapattı bu arada. Zaten kimse bunu nedense dinlemek istemiyor. Evet. Hayran kalalım.
Truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, but eager to get back to business. Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Yönelmedim.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Evet, şu an bize dalga geçiyor. Sinirleniyor.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley.
İşte o Stanley.
You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in...
Açtık.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Alt yazılar da çok güzel. Evet, bayağı...
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Yardım işçi. 420'lik kayıt tarafına K'ye bas. Şu an bizi o hale geri getiriyor. Çok üzücü bir şekilde basmamızı istiyor. İşte ne yapacağız? Basmasam. Belki bir şey olur ama. Basmak istemiyorum. Bunun kolay bir yolu olması lazım. Bastım.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
K harf. 9.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Başka tuşa basıyorum. Başka bütün tuşlara basıyorum, bir şey olmuyor ama.
But in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Allah Allah.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Lütfen çocuklarla biraz zaman geçirmek için 9'a bas. Bekleyelim. Gecikerim. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0. Hiçbir şey olmuyor. Bütün tuşlara bastım, 9 denk geldi desem.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either.
Ben bastım bu arada.
Choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Lütfen akşam yemeği hazırlamak için C'ye bas. Hadi
As he
hazırlayalım.
wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Evet. Buradan bizi laf soktu. Ne güzel.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Ama artık bir şeyler değişsin. Diye bas.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real
Sanki
one.
eşim gerçekti. O da kuklaydı.
And I'm trying to tell him this.
Öyle
That
bir
in
şey
this
mi?
world he can never be anything but an observer.
Evet.
That as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't
Evet.
stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Yo yapacağım. İşte bana böyle gel.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Bu arada eğer adamın dediklerini yaparsak hakikaten farklı oluyor. Örneğin bu sefer birazcık adamın dediklerini mi yapalım?
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And
Ne oldu, öldün mü? Efendim, öldün mü? Loading. Ölmemiş olabilirim. Benim dediklerimi hatırlayabilir bak. Belli
all of
olmaz.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Hala burada bir şey olabileceğine inanmaya çalışıyorum da. Peki değişti mi? Değişmedim. Yine ona benzer şeyler yapacağım. Birazcık farklı yapacağım ama yine benzer şeyler. Şu an zannediyor ki yeniden başlattı. Yani öyle zannetmemizi istiyor. Yine soldaki kapıdan sağdan girince ben şey bekliyorum. Bir daha mı ölmek istiyorsun falan gibi bir cevap vermesini bekliyorum.
Yes, this room.
Bak,
What a beautiful room.
farklı bir cevap veriyor.
Gorgeous, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Şimdi konuşacağız. Bu sefer onun dediklerini yapacağım ama bir yere
Stanley
kadar.
was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years
Bu da
ago.
aynısını söyledi. Ben inanmak istemiyorum. Ölmedim.
Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that
Kargo
the story
şirketi
has
galiba.
been about
Hep aynı
nothing
şeyleri
but
tekrar ediyor şu an. Galiba benim dediğim yine tutmadı. Ben
someone
yine
you've been
büyütmüş
neglecting,
olabilirim.
Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision.
Aşağı atlasam ölür müyüm?
Now, I'm not asking for me,
Kapı da var.
asking for her.
Atlasam ölür müyüm? Çok merak ediyorum.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Sağ ol, sağ ol. Ölüyormuşuz. Bunu öğrendim. Ölüyormuşuz. Bu sefer farklı. Neden bu sefer farklı?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Bu sefer farklı.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he
Hadi
entered
dediğini
the
yapalım.
door on his left.
Bu sefer de dediğini yapalım.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Patronun ofisine
Coming to a
gitmek geldi.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Evet, patronum neredesiniz patronum? Banyo. Allah Allah, hiç kimse de yok. Allah Allah.
Stepping into his manager's
Neredeler?
office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Aa, çok afalladım.
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark
Bak,
secret
tarafta
was being
çözülmüş.
held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the
orada
boss had
mıymış?
assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Ah be. Keşke 2845 olduğunu bilseydim de. Kitaplara bak. Neyse. Klavye
Stanley
var mı?
just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Klavye yok ki ya.
Two, 845.
Kırmızıyla yazdı. Yaz şunu artık gibiydi ama yazmayacağım. Şu an canım yazmayasın. Ha bu mu?
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself.
Allah
And
Allah,
Stanley
nasıl
got
da
the hell out of
açılıverdi?
the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Zorla ya, zorla ya. Bunlardan bahsediyor, bunlar güzel şeyler. Burada ne var çok merak ediyorum. Acaba bir şey var mı? Ama karanlıkla gitmek de istemiyorum şimdi. Ben kırmızı olan karanlığı seçtim. Patronun şeytani planları. Bakalım ne yapıyormuş. Herkesi yönetiyor.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Evet, aklımda bir soru var ama bu cevapsız kalamaz.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Ya, escape, kaçış, kaçış. Yani şimdi bu da yani çok da şey yani. Ya gitmesem de şimdi ya. Daha iyi çekici yani. Hadi açalım, hadi açalım.
The lights rose on an enormous room
be.
packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength?
Her birinin ekranı burada. Değil mi? Herkesin ekranı burada. Burada da şeyler tutuluyor galiba. Gün sayıları mı? Sayılar var sadece. Bu ne ya? Evet, burada da 3'e bölünmüş şu şekilde devam ediyor. Kameralar.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
İşte tahmin ettiğiniz
Stanley's
gibi.
co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Biz nereye gidersek gidelim bunlar bizi görecek. Şu hata vermiş. Employer.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe it couldn't be true.
Gerçektir, gerçektir.
Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That
Bence
his
evet.
emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Evet.
No. He refused to believe it.
Ettim.
He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control.
Yo, ondandır.
It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible?
Mümkün.
Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Öyle demeyelim de.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Buraya seni oturtamıyor muyuz abicim? Kafamızdaki konuşan ses ne? Yani bizim kafamızda mı konuşuyor? Dış ses mi? Konsol kapalı. Kilitli. Hepsi offline. Bunlar da offline. Bu da offline. Burada 1.5 var. Hadi başlayalım. Şurada da bir tane var. Wow, çok güzel sinema izlenir burada. Sinema izlenir değil, çok güzel film izlenir. Giriş bekleniyor.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you?
Ettim.
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do.
Neden canım?
You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you'll have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification,
Allah aşkına hangi DNA ya? Nereden gördü DNA?
Eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your
Demek
time
öyle.
to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires.
Psikopat ya bu adam.
Much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere
Ne yazık.
until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is.
Biz ölür diriliriz.
To talk about you, about me, where we're going.
Bu ne?
What all this means, I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are. A moment of solace.
Nereden çıkacağımı bilmiyorum. 1.22.
I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly.
Lanet olası ya.
I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free.
Bu ne?
That was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes
Dokunduğum her yer kapalı olması da çok sıkıcı. 3'e basmam mı lazım? Ya burada böyle bir şey var ama bunu yeni çözdüğüm için hiçbir işe yaramayacak şimdi ya. Biraz erken çözmüş olsaydım şurada varmış. 55 saniye, 1 saniye. 3'e bastım. Incorrect. 2'ye bas. 2 nerede ya? A2. Şarj oluyor. Dostum 2'ye bastım.
You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not?
Daha ne istiyorsunuz?
Additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Öldük galiba.
Oh dear me, what's the
Ne lan?
matter, Stanley? Is it that
Bence
you
daha
have
fazla
no
süremiz
idea
var.
where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you
Incorrect.
just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on
Tabii ki öyle yapacağım abi.
this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red
Şu ne?
button,
10 yazan.
or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think
Ne yazıyor
that,
burada ya?
Stanley? That this
Yeşile,
video game can be beaten?
yeşile basayım
One
yazıyor.
solved? Do you have any idea
Yeşil tuş
what your
nerede?
purpose in this place is?
Bu yeşil.
Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment.
Ama bunu anlamam gerekiyor, ben anlamıyorum.
That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along.
Lanet olsun, hepsine basacağım.
Sticking away to you.
Şarj olması lan
You're
lazım.
only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you.
Ben böyle bunu yem oldum.
To see you make
Devam mı diyor? Evet lan, devam
This
işte
is
ya.
no challenge. It's a tragedy.
1'e bas.
You wanted to control this world, that's fine.
35 saniye.
But I'm going to destroy it first. So you
Bastım 35'e.
take a look.
Goodbye employee
That's 30
427.
seconds you have left to struggle.
Öldük ya, bu sefer öldük. Öldük. Yok, öldük.
Will you cling desperately
Bari ne yapalım?
for your life, or will you let it go?
Gidelim de güzel yerde ölelim.
Choice. Make it count or don't. It's all
Koşuyorum.
the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable
Of
life
desek ya.
from the moment we fade in until
Patla.
the moment I say happily ever after.
İşte birazcık Stanley'nin gıcığına gittik. Stanley abimizi dinleseydik böyle olmazdı.
Perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Şu kapı nereye açık gidiyor? Oraya nasıl gideceğim? Giriş iletildi. Ha, bir dakika. Dön. Gidelim efendim.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping... Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here.
Evet,
So he
bari
turned
buna
around
kapatalım.
and got back on track.
Sıkıntı olmadıysa. Burada kafayı yiyecek.
There was
Bırakalım burada.
nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Aman tanrım, ne güzel bantlar.
Baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Yani oynuyor olabilirim.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Ya.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your
Bakalım.
friend you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favourite." I hope your friends find this concerning. Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.